We observed inconsistent methods of case management between the divisions with very little checks and balances.
You don't say. The independent review committee appointed by Mayor Whitmire to investigate HPD's abandonment of more than 250,000 cases has confirmed what most of us suspected. The panel also issued a set of recommendations aimed at preventing a repeat of this serial dereliction of duty proposed directives, which include no future suspension of cases without specific command review and approval, adoption of clear written directives communicating department-wide policy, and mandatory recording of minutes during all executive and command staff meetings. Panel, while the operational critique was welcome, some on council were clearly craving more, as in the identities of those most responsible for perpetuating this chronic denial of justice. All right. Well, I thought I had Council Member Castix Tatum, who spoke out and said, like, we need some accountability. Charles, you've been following this closely.
Yeah, I think we do. I mean, the recommendations I think are great. It's a great first step. I know this is just a preliminary report, and they're going to come out with more. But without holding people accountable, nothing changes the culture inside that led to people not speaking up about this. And I think that's the big problem here. Sure, the systems failed us, but people inside knew something was wrong and did not say something. And so you want to hold people accountable who knew that or who were involved in this. So far, the chief has been held accountable, but what about others? He wasn't the only one. And I know there's conversation about an email where it was asked from one of the senior officials if they should notify the whole department that this code is being used, and they responded no, and that person has not been identified publicly. And so I think there's things like that that people still want out there. I'm
going to go to Gary first, then to Marcus on this. So they kind of punted to the Internal Affairs Division to name names and point fingers. And this amounts to basically the cops investigating the cops, Gary. And I'm not sure that's something that a lot of people want.
Well, I think that's a fair comment. Look, here's what happened. Our police department's been understaffed forever. They were basically feeding out of a fire hose in terms of all the cases they're getting, and they don't have enough time to investigate. So they developed this system to avoid the problem. Just put it in a drawer and we'll forget about it, which of course was absolutely wrong. They should have been out there publicly saying, we have all these cases we need to investigate. We don't have enough police to do it, which they didn't do that. So that's how we ended up in the situation we're in. But for victims, it's the worst, because you have a case, you made a complaint, and then it just kind of disappears. Whatever happened, I don't know. And I had a personal experience with this, with a police intake recently, because I had a theft that occurred at our office, and getting to talk to a policeman to even make the complaint, you got to wait 45 minutes at a substation. That's how bad it is. Still.
Jump in here, Marcus.
So, Greg, you mentioned that this was a confirmation of what many suspected. There was no need to suspect anything. There was a full-blown report done by the feds on the Houston Police Department and its layers of corruptions and its layers of problems. Anytime someone like Officer Goins has the ability to repeatedly get false warrants and ramshack neighborhoods and wrongfully beat and steal from citizens, and no one does anything about it, that should tell you that there's something wrong in the department. I think the reason that there are no names being named, because quite frankly, it would take down almost all of the top brass in the department. We have a chief now, an interim chief, who says, I can't remember what happened. This was a major incident that everybody was called into a meeting, and if you're top brass and you're called to a meeting, then you should get the memo as to what the meeting was about.
All right, we're going to follow this story all the way.